High on Life has released, and it's been one of the games I've been looking forward to for a little while, ever since Xbox Gamepass released that they would be coming out with that game on Game Pass day one. I've been very excited about it. What a free game that seems somewhat of quality, seems like it has a story, seems like it has some good dialogue, seems like it has some fun gameplay. I was in. Most of the games I've been having fun with on Game Pass are games that aren't really even Xbox games or Game Pass exclusive games, but third-party titles that they've purchased to be on the service, like the Ubisoft collection, the EA collection, games like that. That's where I've been kind of getting most of my value out of Game Pass. And then mostly small arcade games, like that Midnight game I mentioned in an earlier video, and some other stuff like the top-down Ascent game. I enjoyed that for like a couple of minutes, but that's the only thing I've been really getting value out of. But I've been looking forward to High on Life, and we finally have it, and I must say I enjoy it. Now, the talk around the town for this game is that either you like the Justin Roiland style or you don't. It's just simply that, like if you don't like it, then a lot of people have been rating this game as below average. And then for people who like the game, they've been saying, oh, it's about average, a little bit above average. And I kind of stand in that latter camp. Like, I really do think that the game is something worth playing. It's worth just seeing through. I think it's a good game. But let's go ahead and get right into this review. Now, I'm going to start with the story because I feel like that's the crux of this game. And if you're going to be talking about it in a review way, you need to talk about the story. It's very, very important. Not necessarily the story, but the dialogue, the plot, characters, things of that nature. You kind of have to dive deep into that because that's the crux of this game. So, a brief synopsis: the Earth is invaded by an alien cartel that takes species and turn them into drugs for the broader galaxy. You become a bounty hunter after finding your first Gelatin, which is the guns that you have in the game that talk, and you are tasked with taking down each cartel member who is pretty much turning your species into drugs. That concept alone caught me off guard at first. I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. I've never seen anything like this before. I'm not really a sci-fi person, I'm not really a space person, but Rick and Morty kind of got me into that, and it just feels like a big Rick and Morty episode, if I'm being honest with you. Fucking cartel members turning humans into drugs. You run across a bunch of strange people and strange things, and I must say, the game's humor can be a hit or miss. Some NPCs you come across can just be running out the mouth diarrhea, Justin Roiland style comedy, just ad-libbing. It sounds like kids in a booth just having fun and they laughing at their own jokes, and this is the NPC dialogue. That stuff happens. It's very hit or miss. It happens, and I'm just like, okay, just shut the fuck up, please. Like, I don't even want to listen. Like, how in most games, RPG games, there are some characters that just are boring. You don't want to see what the rest they have to say. It didn't seem like it's interesting. That's a lot of the characters in High on Life. It's just people talking and talking and talking. In your mind, you're like, I guess this is intended to be funny, but it's really not. I think that's one of the things that with the Justin Roiland game, we're gonna run into. And I don't think that them just kind of like ad-libbing the whole entire game or the most of the game, the NPCs dialogue, really backfired on them. I'm sure they had tag points for what they wanted NPCs to say, or tag points for what, the plot was and where you were going to find things and what humans were going to be where and what people were going to be where and what they were going to say. But a lot of it was ad-libbed, and I feel like that kind of took it down a notch, because when your game is running on the fact that it's a funny game, quote unquote funny game, you kind of have to hit that through and through. And I think that's just a problem with, humor in the current day and age. Like, I remember RDC has said something like this. They were like, when you're known for humor, it's almost like every video you have to top yourself, because it needs to be funny. It's like, if it's not funny, then it's just trash. You know what I'm saying? So like, people are always looking to see, okay, are you not funny anymore? Is this funny? And this is the same with High on Life. A lot of people are either Rick and Morty fans, not Rick and Morty fans, or don't watch Rick and Morty anymore, but used to be Rick and Morty fans. And they're coming across this game thinking, okay, is Justin Roiland still funny? And can he make a game funny? And I do think that this game, being a comedy game, ruins what they were trying to go for here. If you just take this as a game, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are games with humor in it. They're not comedy games, they're not humor games, but they're just games with humor in it. Things that make you laugh and things that make you cry. Just, they pull on different emotions for you. A lot of them go the MCU route, and some of them actually go like the dude bro, like Borderlands 3 is trying to be funny, but it's not really, but it's cringe, and at the same time it has its own kind of thing. But we don't really call that a comedy game, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's Borderlands 3. You don't really call Ratchet and Clank a comedy game, even though it can be funny. And I feel like that's the best comparison for this game. High on Life is Ratchet and and Clank. But like I said, it can be very hit and miss with the NPCs and their dialogue. I do remember coming across this one NPC that just had me dead laughing. I was walking in like the areas. I was trying to get to the store to buy some stuff. I came across this guy who told me to stop. He was cursing at me or something like that. He just wanted my attention. I stopped. I tried to hear what he had to say, and he was trying to sell me alien cum. And I was just like, what the fuck? And I was just asking the questions like in a normal RPG, like, why do you sell alien? I was actually intrigued. I'm never really intrigued when talking to NPCs and they have dialogue options for you to ask more questions. Horizon Forbidden West people, please don't get mad at me, because that's one of the things I hate about Horizon Forbidden West. But this was just so intriguing. Why is this guy selling alien cum? I had to ask all the questions. Like, why are you selling alien cum? Do people actually buy alien cum from you? What do people do with alien cum? Things of that nature, right? And at the end, I decided not to buy the alien cum. It was just weird to me. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, and then I went on with my day, and then I progressed through the story. I came back to the same area at nighttime. This guy was still standing there. He was the only person in the courtyard. And I just decided, hey, I'm gonna talk to him to see if he have any extra dialogue, see if there was something else funny he could say. This guy thought I actually wanted alien cum because I was coming to talk to him. He gave me a free bottle of fucking alien cum. I got an achievement for having alien cum in my inventory. I'm just gonna say that was funny as hell to me. That was like one section I thought was hilarious. There are other sections that are hidden in the game. If you don't come across it, you probably won't find it, but there are some really funny shit that is hidden in the game. Please shut the fuck up, you dog. Sorry, you guys. He's just very annoying. That's why I be not having videos out, because this nigga just be barking and shit, ruining my shit. But there is just hidden comedy in this game, and I feel like a lot of people are judging this game off of the comedy. They just don't like the style, and that can take it down a notch or put it up a notch. And like I said, it puts it up a notch for me because I feel like there is some funny stuff in here. I also very much enjoy that your protagonist is a mute protagonist like Halo or Doom or anything of that nature. The protagonist doesn't talk, and you kind of use the Galatans to talk for you. They kind of interact with the world for you. They talk to NPCs, they talk to main characters in the story. They are just the character, honestly, and your character has no character. So I kind of like how they did that. Sometimes I wish that the character did speak, but also I like the fact that it's almost as if you have 4 different personalities as a main protagonist because you have the 4 different Galatans. And honestly, depending on the Galatan you have out at the time, you can get different type of answers from the Galatans that make the story better. I know for me personally, I kept JB Smooth out, which was the kind of frog looking gun. I feel like he had the best personality for me. I hated Justin Roiland's Morty gun. He's like the main gun you get. I feel like he's the most annoying gun. And I feel like that's a lot of the reason why people don't like this game is because they started out and the main gun of the story, he kind of drives the story forward, is the Morty gun. I call him the Morty gun because he sounds like Morty. He's just annoying. He not only is he annoying, he talks too much, but he complains a lot. He's like the most annoying out of all the guns. And even all the guns hate him too for a specific reason that I won't spoil. But I just hate the fucking gun. I hate, matter of fact, I hate his gameplay. I hate, that he's like this single shot pistol and you're just shooting and then you got this big grenade launcher type blob that'll bounce the enemies up in the air but don't really do no damage to them. And then you juggle them. And I'm just like, this is stupid. I don't like this gun. I don't like what he do. I don't like anything about this gun. And once I got the other guns, I stopped using him completely. But also, when I get into the gameplay section, or matter of fact, we're just going to go into that. When it comes to the gameplay, if you only play with that first main gun, the first annoying Morty gun, right? If you play with Kenny, you're going to hate this game. It's not, the gunplay is not good enough. And his gunplay is not good enough to really satisfy the fact that you have to deal with all his annoying talking, especially at the beginning of the game. You kind of are stuck with him for at least about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I can see how people can think this game is straight trash with just the Morty gun, with Kenny. It is bad. But once you get these other guns, these other Galatans, you realize that the game has more to offer. The different guns feel better, because the gunplay isn't that good. I would say it's like AA tier. I would even say AA tier games nowadays are better than this when it comes to gunplay and first person shooters. I feel like a lot of them have started to catch up with Call of Duty. Like even Battlefield feels more like Call of Duty and less like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like it's less than AA tier. It's more like a Unreal Engine game. It's what it is. It's not really all the way there. It doesn't feel like Call of Duty at all. It doesn't feel like Battlefield at all. It doesn't feel like any of these modern shooters at all. But it's serviceable at least, you know what I'm saying? but the first gun really makes it bad. And when you get the other guns, it makes the gunplay feel a lot better because you have to be you don't have to be as accurate as, you know, the first gun, because you have a single shot with Kenny. You just pew, 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 right? But with the other ones, you have some automatics, you have a shotgun. It's a lot easier to handle and deal with. Now, I'll get into my 2 or 3 negatives I have for this game, and then I'll give you guys a score, a price, and let you know if you should get into this game. But the 3 negatives that I have for this game is essentially, I feel like they took some shortcuts with the world design and the mission design, because at the beginning, they kind of set up a loop. The loop goes, you go to a world to kill your bounty, right? You go to a new world to kill your bounty. You find a new gun, or you kill the bounty and he gives you his gelatin because he's dead, right? And then you go back to the hub world and you talk to the NPCs for this little RPG section where you talk to the sister and Jean, which that's another negative, but I'll get into it. You talk to them and then you go off into your next bounty where you set up upon a new world, a brand new world, and then you go and start the loop over again. Now, around the 4th world, they decide, okay, fuck that loop. We're just gonna recycle shit. So eventually you start getting new bounties. You become world renowned for killing all these cartel members, right? And then they just start recycling the worlds you go to. So you go back to the same world as you started off with, and they just, you pretty much play the same worlds twice, which isn't that bad, but I feel like it's a shortcut. They could have made, you know, it's only 4 maps. Essentially, there's 4 different worlds outside of the human realm, and then the hub world that you kind of go into after the human realm. I feel like, why didn't we go back to Earth? Like, why it seemed as if the main cartel member who was taking over Earth and turning humans into drugs, he was on Earth for most of the game, and then all of a sudden he just returns to a world we've already been to and killed the cartel member of, I guess taking his place or just investigating the situation. He's back on this old hub world and we're killing him on a hub world we've already been to. Now I will say, you know, the spaces, you know, is new. A lot of times when you're fighting the bosses, it's in a new space within that world. I'll give them that. But I just feel like, you know, it's a Rick and Morty video game. It's all about exploration, all about new worlds, about new different things. And you kind of already set a precedent of the loop in the first 4 hours or so. So it just seemed as if it just like completely got lazy. They got lazy. They didn't want to make more worlds. They ran out of time, ran out of budget. I don't know what it was, but I didn't like the fact that they just kind of reused the same worlds for the later end of the game, the tail end of the game. I feel like, you know, it wasn't like the game was that expansive to the point where, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought, at least take us back to Earth, at least 5 worlds. Like, don't give us 4 new bounty hunters to go after and then just reuse the same old worlds, especially if you already set a loop of new world, new bounty, new gun. That's my first negative. My second negative is in between the missions, which I spoke of earlier. When you come back from killing your bounty, you had to engage in this conversation with Jean and your sister. Jean being an alien that you're using his bounty hunter suit for, you know, killing the cartel. So he's in your home, just taking up space, whatever the case may be, right? And they kind of argue back and forth. Your sister is mad that Jean is there. Jean is mad that your sister, for some reason, has a crush with an alien or something like that, gets into a relationship with an alien. And you kind of have to battle in between. You have to kind of be like, Jean, you need to get the fuck out, but you can't because I'm using your shit. So you can't get the fuck out. Sister, maybe you shouldn't be fucking an alien. You know, that's just not a good idea. And at first it was amusing. It was a fun conversation, but it's almost like you're having the same fucking conversation, but with escalation each time you come back from your mission. And it gets really annoying at some point. I just wish they didn't force that upon you. I wish, you know, you could have kind of just skipped out of the conversations at most. I don't feel like they added anything to the game at all. I feel like they were really just a nuisance at the end of the day, or just a excuse for a comedy bit. And I don't really think it was funny at all. Like, it kind of just felt a little bit wokish. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jean was over here talking about how she shouldn't date this alien guy. I'm like, Jean, why do you give a fuck? And then she's like, well, you're very mansplainish, and you're over here trying to be protective. I don't need your protection. Yeah, all that shit, right? It was very, very annoying. And that's just kind of where I got from that section. I wish it wasn't in the game, or at least they provide an option to skip it. With this all being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into the value proposition of the game. I feel as if the game is not a $60 game. I saw that they were selling this game for $60 if you don't get it on Game Pass. And I was like, Shreggy? Are you fucking stupid? Like $60? This is not a $60 game. I'm gonna just keep it a buck with you. I understand that it is a Game Pass game, and I'm not sure, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is Xbox exclusive also. So there's really no reason for anybody to purchase this game, since they should have access to Game Pass. But $60 is wild. That's crazy. Do not buy this game at $60. It's really not worth it at all. I will say that the game is at a Game Pass price. I think that Game Pass has found a very good loop of like, okay, this is the value of Game Pass, because a lot of these games I can count to like a $40 price tag. It's worth $40 or less. If you know, it gets older and it doesn't sell well, yeah, I can see it being less than that. But I think that the value proposition for this game is at around $40. And I think that it is a Game Pass game at the end of the day. And I'm glad I experienced it. If you haven't had the chance to experience this game, I suggest you do. At least give it a try. If you don't like the humor, that's fair enough. If you don't feel like the gameplay justifies sitting through that humor, I also see that. So ain't no judgment over here, but I do think it's worth experiencing, especially if at some point you were a Rick and Morty fan or watched Justin Roiland's content and enjoyed it. I think it's worth checking out. Yeah, is it a little bit too Rick and Morty season 3 and 4? It definitely is. I'm not a fan of some of the conversations and some of the dialogue and all that stuff. I'm not a fan of some of it, but at the same time, I am a fan of a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? So take it as you will. I hope you enjoyed this video. I think this game is worth $40. And I think you should check it out. And also, if you're a PlayStation person, don't let this stop you. If you have a good internet, you can get Game Pass and play through this game and test it out for yourself. I will say that the gunplay is a little bit weird, so I don't know how that plays on cloud, but you can always give it a try. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you do please leave a like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. I'm trying to make it better, put it out more often, and not take so many breaks in between these games. I actually already recorded this video a long time ago. It's just now getting re-recorded because there were some problems. Again, the dog barking and stuff. It is what it is. But yeah, man, if you would like to see more content like this, subscribe. There is more content coming through the end of this year and going into next year and all through next year. I'm going to be trying to make sure there is a plentiful amount of content that you can watch. So subscribe, leave a like if you like content like this. Like, what are you doing? And turn on post notifications, because like, who don't like to be notified when I post? You get what I'm saying? And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.